Chapter 1, Prologue. Click, click. The rhythmic sound of the keyboard echoed in the otherwise quiet office space. It was dark, the flickering overhead lights casting weak shadows on the walls. Takakakak. The unmistakable sound of footsteps sliced through the silence, sharp, rapid, and disjointed. They came from behind, quick and heavy, like someone sprinting just out of view. The steps skittered to the right, then to the left, frantically, as if whatever was making them was circling, hunting. Then, just as abruptly as they began, they stopped. Silence. Suffocating. Would you like to quit the game? Play button yes, no. I didn't hesitate. I pressed yes and closed the game. I exhaled in relief as I slumped back into my chair, gripping my stomach. That was close. I was quite used to feeling nauseous by now. It tended to happen whenever I played horror games. I wasn't good with horror, never had been. My tolerance for it was razor thin, and once I hit that limit, it wasn't just fear that came rushing in. It was the urge to vomit. So, why was I playing this game in the first place? It was simple. I had no choice. The gaming industry had become oversaturated. Too many people with too many skills, and nobody was hearing unless you were willing to specialize in something big. Like, say, horror games. And here I was, sitting in an office full of them. I felt bitter. The irony was all too evident. The job I needed to keep was the one I hated. I leaned forward and opened the drawer, pulling out the small bottle of pills. Menxolanis. It is advised to take 2 pills twice a day or as directed by your healthcare provider. The medication should be taken with water, preferably with meals, to minimize potential gastrointestinal discomfort. Do not crush or chew the pill, as it is designed for controlled release. The instructions blurred as I read them. With a sigh, I swallowed the pills dry, chasing them down with a gulp of water. Acha! I winced, my body shaking as I hurriedly reached out for my arm in an attempt to stop the trembling. That small dose cost more than I made in a week. The pills had become a part of my routine, my lifeline for whatever this condition was. Even now, in spite of meeting several doctors, I had no idea as to what this strange disease was. All I knew was that it was some sort of strange neurological disease that was slowly eating away at my brain. I had no choice but to rely on the pills to live. I didn't want to die, but I was merely delaying the inevitable. I didn't have much time left. I shook my head and glanced at my watch. 1:30 a.m. Everyone had left hours ago. I was the last one in the office, stuck sifting through the game's logs and reviews after the release of Gentle Whispers. But those reviews, they weren't helping. Recent reviews, mostly negative, 27 reviews. This game sucks. I bought it hopping for something new, but it's just full of cheap jump scares. Didn't find this scary at all. I refunded it after an hour. Wasted time. It's just tedious. Another failure from Nightmare Forge Studios. They've lost their touch. I scrolled, the weight in my chest growing heavier with each new comment. The mostly negative tag was starting to feel like a death sentence. Sales had barely taken off, and the reviews weren't helping. In fact, they were dragging the game down. This is bad. I leaned back in my chair, staring blankly at the ceiling. If things kept going this way, the studio was heading straight for bankruptcy. And if it did, I'd be one of the first out the door. Nobody cared about programmers when the money ran dry. And finding a new job these days, that was a nightmare all on its own. I swallowed, trying to push the rising panic down. No, don't think like that. The game was new. Things could turn around. People will start writing positive reviews soon. I convinced myself. Then I refreshed the page. Recent reviews. Negative 41 reviews. Well, shit. The more I refreshed, the worse it got. The comments were relentless. The negative reviews were snowballing, gathering momentum as if the universe itself was conspiring against me. I sat, staring at the screen blankly. By the time I managed to snap out of it, The number of negative reviews had reached a point where I couldn't bear to scroll any longer. I closed the tab and leaned back in my chair, exhaling deeply. Flop, this game's a flop. The words lingered in the air amidst my silence. I could already feel the resignation sinking in. It looks like I'm going to lose my job. I didn't even have to be responsible for the game's storyline to know how this worked. We'd all be swept aside. Developers, designers, the whole team. Hardly anyone was going to be spared from this disaster. I hope the severance is decent enough, I muttered, rubbing my eyes. I could already see it, the chaos that would unfold tomorrow. From the chief director's anger to the inevitable scolding, and finally, the dreaded, "you're fired," before I'd be forced to pack up and leave. I slumped forward, hands covering my face. The bitterness curled inside me, stinging like a wound that wouldn't heal. Why was it always me? Why did I have to end up in a position where every damn choice felt wrong? Ding. The sudden notification jolted me out of my thoughts. I froze, eyes widening at the screen. You've got mail. Mail. This isn't even my personal computer. Was this some kind of virus? Another scam? I'd heard about these before. Without thinking, I moved to dismiss the notification. But as my hand hovered over the mouse, the screen flashed. Ding. Horror Developer System. Would you like to activate? Play button yes. No. My brow furrowed. What was this, a joke? I gritted my teeth. I was already pissed off from the reviews, and now this. Before I could click, the screen flashed again, this time showing a new message. The trial period will now begin. Click. Wait, what? When did I click yes? I glanced at the mouse, the click still lingering in my memory, but I had never touched it. How? The screen flashed again. We look forward to working with you, developer Seth Thorne. I froze. It knew my name. My skin crawled. Something wasn't right. I instinctively reached for the mouse, but when my hand touched it, I pulled away sharply. Cold. The coldness hit like a shock to my system. It wasn't the room, it was coming from the mouse itself. I stared at my hand, then at the screen. This wasn't possible. And then, ding. Are you ready? A smiley face emoji popped up on the screen, its eyes wide, unblinking. I blinked, and the emoji twitched. The smile stretched unnaturally wide. It didn't stop. Twitch. The color bled from the emoji, turning red. Twitch. Its eyes were replaced with 2 crosses. Twitch. Suddenly, a wave of dizziness hit me. My vision blurred, and my body grew heavy. A cold breath washed over my ear. I froze, shivers running down my spine. It was right next to me. My skin tingled as a voice, far too close, whispered in my ear. Good luck, Tilda. The world went dark. Chapter 2, The Jester 1. Welcome, new developer. The moment my eyes snapped open, a translucent notification appeared before me. Beyond it, I found myself seated in the center of a grand opera-style theater. The lights were off. The heavy curtains were drawn. Rows of empty seats stretched into darkness, the balconies above just as lifeless. Most unsettling of all, I was soaked in sweat. Have I overworked myself? I tried to pinch my cheek, but the pain was there. Then, this is not an illusion, nor a dream. This is a real scenario from the Horror Developer System. A new notification flashed, and my stomach sank. You are the lucky fellow selected by the Horror Developer System. In short, we'll help you make good horror games. No, I don't want it. Let me out. Whatever this was, I wanted no part of it. I could already feel my stomach churning. I feel like puking already. Please don't worry. If you are unsatisfied with our service, you can always quit. We always strive to provide the best service. Oh, good. Let me quit now. For just a brief moment, my stomach started to settle down. But it was only for a brief moment. But before you decide, we will have you run a scenario. The rumblings returned, more powerful than before. I could feel a wave of unease wash over me. But please don't worry. As a welcome gift, we will provide you with a beginner starter pack. Not only that, but we'll also provide you with exclusive information regarding the scenario. This is all to make you a better game developer. Poof! Several items magically appeared out of thin air. I quickly caught on to them. What is this? Looking down, I noticed 4 items. A white mask, a blank sheet of paper, a walkie-talkie, and a pair of earplugs. A small window appeared on top of each item. Upon closer inspection, I noticed that each item had a name and a small description written on it. Blank mask. A simple mask used to hide your identity. There are many different styles you can try. Non-consumable. Mind printer. Draws whatever your mind is thinking. 1 consumable. Earplugs. Blocks all music for 10 minutes. 1 consumable. Walkie-talkie. Just a regular walkie-talkie. Non-consumable. 1 usage. Earplugs, mask, mind printer, walkie-talkie. This was the starter pack. Was this some sort of joke? How was I even going to use these items? In what way could these 4 items help me? To add insult to injury, I read the description of the walkie-talkie. Was it mocking me? Click. Pressing on the walkie-talkie, all I got back was a faint static noise. What bullshit? If that wasn't pointless enough, my gaze landed on the blank mask before me. Plain white, featureless, with nothing but 2 empty eye holes. That was it. No markings, no details, just a blank mask. Why would I even need to hide my identity? Wait. A thought suddenly occurred to me, and my heart sank. Don't tell me. The things will remember me. Ah, shit. I really felt like throwing up. The scenario will begin shortly. Please get ready, Tilda. I instinctively tried to stand, but my body refused to move. It was as if I were glued to the chair. This was bad. My stomach churned. I needed to get out of here. But, no, I need to calm down. I had played my fair share of horror games. This was no different. The system did say I could quit. I just had to survive long enough to finish the scenario. Yeah, that's all. Wait 1 second. I suddenly looked up at the floating notification in front of me. What's going to happen to me if I fail the scenario? Will I just be sent back home? If it was like that, then... No. A suffocating silence followed. Then, another notification followed. This time, you will die if you fail. It was completely red. Every muscle in my body went rigid as my eyes shot wide open. What sort of? The scenario is now starting. Operation, Silent Requiem. Class, Black, Black, Black. A self-conducting orchestra, capable of producing the most beautiful yet haunting melodies. The orchestrator, renowned for his relentless pursuit of perfection, has never failed to bewitch a single spectator. One must be careful not to become too entranced by the music, lest they lose their very sense of self. The words on the floating window sent an eerie shiver down my spine. Scenario candidates will be joining shortly. Do you wish to use any item? You have 10 seconds. Scenario candidates. My stomach clenched. Wait, other people are in this too. No response. Just an ominous silence. Gritting my teeth, I glanced down at the items in my hand. Instinct took over. I reached for the mask and brought it to my face. Immediately, a strange interface appeared in front of me. It displayed all sorts of designs for the mask. Play button gesture. Clown. Skull. Why are they all creepy masks? There were all sorts of nice designs, but there was only one problem. They were all creepy. 5 seconds. Ugh. I scrolled down the list faster. 2 seconds. Screw it. Play button Jester. You have selected Jester. The mask will now morph. The mask shrank and fused to my face. I tried to rip it off, but the moment I raised my hands, a series of bells materialized in my vision, each attached to a strand of red fabric. A soft jingling filled the air as the bells chimed together. Then, boom, the theater flared to life. The once empty seats were suddenly filled on all sides. Applause erupted from all sides, startling me. What's going on? My breath hitched as I turned my head. A cold wave of nausea crashed over me. The person beside me had no features. No eyes, no mouth, just a smooth, empty canvas where a face should have been. Swoosh, swoosh. Just when I thought the surprises had ended, more figures emerged from out of thin air, scattered across the theater. Unlike the faceless spectators, these individuals had faces. Each was clad in a sleek black uniform, a golden insignia gleaming on their chests, an emblem that felt somewhat familiar. But where exactly have I seen it before? They each took a seat shortly after. To make matters even stranger, I noticed them exchanging glances, and it became obvious to me shortly after. They knew each other. From the fluid and familiar way they moved and exchanged glances, it was as if they were well accustomed to this routine. But the moment their eyes landed on me, everything stopped. For a brief, unsettling moment, they froze, their stares directed my way. They were looking at me as if I were some sort of variable that they hadn't expected. Then, almost as if on cue, they quickly averted their gazes and took their seats. I clenched my fist. They knew something I didn't. I was just about to speak when... Beep. A subtle, yet audible sound crackled in my hand. A soft, husky voice came through shortly after. Captain, who in the world is that? I don't remember the previous clearance squad mentioning something about a jester being present. I lowered my head and stared at my hand. Or more precisely, the walkie-talkie I held. Should we get rid of the variable? What in the world? Chapter 3, The Jester 2. I know. I'm looking at the report right now. There's no mention of a jester. A deep, female voice crackled from the walkie-talkie. Her words started a frenzy over the comms shortly after. Those incompetent fools. Don't tell me they missed something like this. Calm down. That might not be the case. The jester might be a variable. It's not uncommon for such things to happen. But, quiet down. As the female voice echoed again, all noise ceased. The scenario is about to start. We will ignore the jester for now, however. One of you keep an eye on it. We'll act accordingly. Understood. What was this conversation? Why did it sound like they were familiar with the scenario already? Who were they? Why were they here? And more importantly, why was I here? My mind raced with questions, but before I could process anything further, the atmosphere in the theater shifted. A sudden, overwhelming change. The applause died abruptly, and all noise ceased. As if in perfect sync, every head turned toward the center stage just as a change occurred. The walkie-talkie buzzed with another faint whisper. The scenario is starting. Get ready. Swoosh. Finally, the curtains drew open, revealing the stage. At the center stood a grand piano, its polished surface gleaming under the harsh spotlights. 12 empty chairs lined the stage, each positioned in neat rows to the right. The silence felt suffocating, unnatural, almost as if the very air was holding its breath. Creak. A sharp, jarring noise split the stillness as a figure emerged from behind the stage. Its movements were stiff, unnaturally so. A knot formed in my throat the instant it stepped into view. At the same time, the walkie-talkie vibrated again. It's coming, just like in the reports, be careful. The figure was dressed in a formal black suit, the sharp edges of its bow tie barely visible beneath its thin, almost skeletal frame. It gripped a finely crafted violin, the strings tight and trembling under its hands. The figure's face, if you could call it that, was straight out of a nightmare. Desiccated skin clung to a skull-like structure, with thin, glistening needles stitching its mouth and hollow eye sockets shut. It moved toward one of the chairs and sat down, its hollow gaze fixed on us. Here comes the next one. Another figure followed, this one a woman in a long, flowing black dress. Her steps were stiff, yet carried a strange grace as she carried a cello, the polished wood gleaming under the spotlight. The bass. Each figure that followed had the same unsettling presence. Their movements were smooth, but there was something off about them, as if they were puppets controlled by some sort of string. The air grew heavier with each figure that took its seat. 12 chairs, 12 figures. The room became unnervingly still. And then the walkie-talkie buzzed once more. The orchestra has been filled. The temperature in the room dropped, and I shivered involuntarily. My hand clenched around the walkie-talkie, sweat beading on my forehead. Something else was coming. Something worse. I could feel it. Bezuzé. Prepare yourselves. The conductor is about to arrive. Remember what the scouts have reported back. The moment the conductor arrives, the scenario really begins. I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. Just who were these people? How did they know so much about this scenario, and who were the scouts? Were they also people who received the strange system? If so, keep attention on the overture, the first symphony. It'll last approximately 10 minutes. In that time, your emotions may be swayed by the music. You must resist at all costs. Overtune, first symphony, just what? It's starting. The conductor has arrived. Creak. The wood cracked once again, this time sharper than before. My heart pounded out of my chest. The conductor arrived, his figure even more grotesque than the others. Its body was twisted, its limbs unnaturally long, its skin stretched tight over jagged bones. Yet, despite its grotesque appearance, it moved with unsettling calm, as if it belonged here. It reached the podium at the front of the stage, pausing as if to survey the room. Then it turned its head, slowly, horribly. Despite the crude stitches sealing its eye sockets shut, it looked directly at us. I swallowed silently, my hands trembling. It looked at us in silence. It raised its hands. Then, wham! The music began. Everyone, get ready. From this moment forward, the overtune is about to begin. You need to resist at all costs. The hurried yet alarmed voice of the woman echoed in the walkie-talkie, once again, as the faces of the group in front of me changed. Unable to understand what was happening, I prepared for the inevitable, biting my lips and covering my ears. But it was of no use. The music still reached my ears. It was a soft melody, one that tickled the ear gently and sounded like a gentle yet soft whisper. This isn't bad, I thought. In fact, it sounded good. The music was pleasant to the ear. The music, it was beautiful at first. A soft melody that whispered its way into my mind, gentle, almost seductively so. The violin's smooth notes blended perfectly with the deep resonance of the cello, each instrument complementing the other in perfect harmony. It was easy to get lost in the sound, to feel the weight of the world slip away as my muscles relaxed, my thoughts drifting into the melody. I nodded my head to the rhythm of the music. I felt myself forget about all the bad things. The stress faded, and so did my thoughts. Gradually, I sank to the tune. I started to immerse in it. It was all I thought. It was. My eyes snapped open and I gripped my right hand. It was trembling, my fingers unsteady as they dug into my shirt. Sweat drenched my body, soaking through my clothes. My breathing became shallow, frantic. Oh God. I felt my stomach twist as I looked ahead. I glanced at the conductor, and in a way that made my blood run cold, its eyes turned to meet mine. Its lips began to curl, agonizingly slow, as the dark, raw stitches across its mouth pulled tighter, stretching the pale, decaying skin in a creepy smile. I suddenly forgot how to breathe. My stomach churned. Oh God. The music grew louder, more insistent. No, I have to stay focused, stay awake. I tried, I really tried. Until... Bang. Ah. A chilling scream pierced through the hall. One that was coupled with a loud bang, as one of the strange people stood up, their faces pale and expressions twisted. Ugh. He continued to scream. I saw the others look in his direction, but as if struggling to keep their composure, they could only look at him as his eyes turned bloodshot. It's Jackson. Sea Captain, what should we do? Ugh. Another scream pierced. Make it stop, he wailed, clawing at his own face. His fingers sank deep into his skin, blood pouring from his face, as he began to tear his own features apart. The others watched, frozen, their faces twisted in horror as the man continued to mutilate himself. My stomach lurched. I could barely hold it in. I saw one of the clothed people stand in an attempt to help him, but by the time they arrived at him, his face was soaked in blood, his fingers digging deep into his face, disfiguring what was once his face. A lump formed in my throat at the sight of the scene, my stomach churning more than ever. I felt it then. I was really close to puking. Ugh. As the scream persisted, the hair on my arms rose. His screams grew frantic, louder, until finally, he turned to the nearest wall and... Bang! His head slammed against it, blood splattering everywhere. Bang! The sound echoed, each strike louder than the last. The walls were painted red. Bang! His body crumpled to the floor, lifeless. Thump! As his body fell, the music returned, and I leaned back on my chair. Hi. As the haunting scene replayed in my mind, I felt my shirt cling to the damp surface of the chair. The music had never stopped. It played amidst the screams, slowly seeping its way into my mind. I didn't have much time left. My gaze dropped to the items in my hands, fingers trembling as they tightened around them. Without hesitation, I placed the earplugs in my ears. That was when it all turned silent. All noise ceased then, and my mind calmed. 10 minutes. I took a deep breath, forcing my gaze away from the walls. That's all the time I have left to survive this. Chapter 4, The Jester 3. 0959s. I hate horror. This much was clear to me. The mere exposure to it made me want to puke. Many times, I found myself puking. But just because I hated horror, it didn't mean that I couldn't keep myself from losing my sense of reasoning. Having tested dozens of horror games in the past, I had learned to suppress my fear, enough at least to keep a clear head while navigating them. My stomach hurt. I couldn't open my mouth, afraid that I would puke at any second. But I could still rationalize. And that's what I started doing. Sealing all the music away, allowing for the silence to return, I regained control of my mind. The music is affecting the state of mind of those who hear it. If one immerses too much into it, they might lose their mind and... I looked in the direction of the wall, my stomach twisting as a result. I don't know who these people are, but considering how they're affected by the music and the information that I learned through the walkie-talkie, this isn't their first time experiencing something like this. They also seem to be aware of the fine details of this scenario. How did they know? Did they also receive the system, or was there a different reason? My gaze eventually fell on the items that I had received. A walkie-talkie, a paper that can print my thoughts once, earplugs, and the mask that I'm wearing. Having worked in a lot of games before, there was one thing that I fundamentally understood as a game designer. No item was random or useless. Each item had a reason for its usage within the scenario, and seeing as to how I had used 3 items so far, the key was the paper in my hand, alongside the walkie-talkie. The walkie-talkie. A thought suddenly crossed my mind. If I can hear through it, then I most likely can also communicate with them. Does the scenario require their help, or can I clear it without them? I silently swallowed while checking the time remaining. 08:41s. My pulse pounded in my ears as I forced myself to remain calm. But could I really remain calm? Another scream shattered the tension. Though the music was gone, I still heard that, a high-pitched wail of pure, mindless agony. Though the earplugs could block all music, they couldn't block all noise. And that amplified the sound of the screams, truly exposing me to the raw terror and fear within them. And then the horror unfolded again. It was the same as the first death. Disfiguring themselves with their own nails, they started screaming at the top of their lungs. Bang! Then came the hollow, sickening crack as they slammed their heads into the walls. Once, twice, again and again, each blow more brutal than the last. Bang, bang. Blood splattered, seeping into the walls like ink on parchment. My stomach lurched. I gritted my teeth, forcing myself to swallow the surge of nausea. No matter what you do, resist. The voice from the walkie-talkie was strained, desperate. Sea Captain, I can't hold on for much longer. The music, I can't drown it out. Resist. You must resist until the second symphony. Things will get better then. Will they? I scanned the faces of those around me. Pale, drenched in sweat, trembling. Taking into account the expressions of all those present, I doubted most of them would be able to make it to the second symphony. And even if they did, what if it got worse? But more important than that, I don't want to see any more blood. The sight was too eerie and chilling. Closing my eyes was tempting, but I knew better. I had to observe, had to find a way out. How annoying. Holding my tongue, I shifted my attention back towards the description of the scenario and read it once again. Self-conducting orchestra. Renowned for his relentless pursuit of perfection, one must be careful not to become too entranced by the music, lest they lose their very sense of self. There was a way to clear this. I had all the tools in order to clear the scenario. All I needed to figure out now was the key to turning the situation around. 04:37s. Time continued to slip. Only 4 minutes remained until the earplugs lost their effect. My mind raced. I had to think fast. Spurt. In the midst of my thoughts, something wet splattered against me. My muscles tensed, and I lost hold of my breath for a few seconds. It trickled down my mask as I held my tongue and forced my thoughts to stray away. Focus, focus. I once again read the scenario description. Self-conducting orchestra, renowned for his relentless pursuit of perfection. One must be careful not to become too entranced by the music, lest they lose their very sense of self. I needed some sort of clue. Something. Anything. 03:43s. Time ticked. It waited for no one, constantly draining, just like my mind, as the beat of my heart drummed loudly in my mind. Ba, sump, ba, sump. Anxiety started to gnaw at me. The closer I was to running out of time, the more my anxiety grew. It started to eat my mind. Chewing it slowly. Self-conducting orchestra, renowned for his relentless pursuit of perfect. My head snapped up. A thought slammed into me like a freight train. Eyes locked onto the conductor at the center of the stage. His hands moved in elegant sways, each flick of the conducting stick precise, deliberate. Perfect. Wait, perfect. An idea formed, but it was an improbable one. Time ticked as I did so. 01:22s. My breathing turned shallow. I was slowly running out of time. There was only 1 minute left. That was how much time I had left before the earplugs stopped working, before the music would once again enter my ears. By then, it would be too late for me. No, perhaps, it was already too late. No, I refused to let that happen. My lips soon parted open, and in the midst of the orchestra, my voice quietly whispered in the air. This fucking sucks. My voice was drowned out amidst the music and screams. And yet, as if capable of hearing my voice, the conductor's movements stiffened. It was brief, but it didn't escape my eyes. It worked. A glimmer of hope ignited within me then. That's when I opened my mouth again. I'm about to fall asleep. With my arms crossed, I pretended to close my eyes while my head drooped off. At the same time, I stealthily looked in the direction of the conductor. As expected, his movement stiffened again. But only for a brief moment. My heart sank. It's not enough. There was a reaction, but it was far from enough. 01:15s. Time was ticking. I was running dangerously close to it. Not enough, not enough, not enough. I desperately looked through the items provided to me before. So far, I only had 2 left with me. Having already used the mask and the earplugs, I realized the answer would be in the 2 items in my hand. But how? How could I make them work? My chest suddenly tensed as time continued to tick. I felt anxious, and my stomach rumbled. 0:59s. My hand shook as my eyes darted between the 2 items in my hands. And then, something suddenly struck me. I didn't hesitate to reach out for the walkie-talkie. Click. Gradually, my lips parted as I spoke. If you want to live, do as I say. Chapter 5, The Jester 4. Things weren't supposed to turn out like this. Clara muttered under her breath, her gaze locked onto the conductor at the center of the stage. His baton sliced through the air in sharp, fluid arcs, guiding the melody with each one of his movements. Her grip on the walkie-talkie tightened. The earbuds in her ears dulled the sound but couldn't silence the music. Somehow, someway, it found its way into her mind. Click. Resist, resist, resist. Her mouth opened and closed on repeat, the same words tumbling out over and over. What once used to be something she said to remind her squad members was now something she said in order to keep her own sanity. She feared the music would consume her entirely if she stopped, even for a second. If she faltered for even a moment. Clara bit her lip. How did things turn out this way? The first sign that something had turned awry had been the jester. Its presence alone should have been a red flag. Anomalies like that didn't just appear. They were warnings, omens of something within the gate changing. But as the captain of a B-ranked squad, Clara thought she wouldn't struggle with a C-ranked anomalous-type gate. Even if anomalous-type gates tended to have the lowest survival rates, she shouldn't have struggled like this. She had made enough preparations to succeed. From the noise-canceling devices to reduce the impact of the music, to the numerous dampening devices that they had brought in advance. None of it worked. Ag. A scream, raw, hoarse, and shrill, ripped through the silence like a blade. Bang. Clara flinched. No, stop. This needs to stop. Her hands trembled as she forced herself to look ahead. The conductor's lips, grotesquely sewn shut with blackened wire, stretched into a sickening grin. He was enjoying this. And Clara, for the first time in her life, felt something deeper than fear. Helplessness. Her entire squad was made up of 10 elite members, all trained to deal with such situations. But this was different. Even as an anomalous-type gate, which was considered to have the lowest survival rate amongst all types of gates, things shouldn't have been this difficult. Something had gone wrong. Horribly so. This was no C-ranked gate. It was B, ranked or higher. The music pulsed through the air, every note forcing her mind to grow numb, slowly inching towards her mind, sucking her into this strange state that made her fingers twitch. Think. Clara's mind churned, all sorts of possibilities running through her mind. She still had time. She needed to think of a way to help herself, alongside the squad, out of this predicament. In spite of the music slowly draining away her mental capability, she was still able to remain rational enough to think. See, Captain, I can't resist much longer. Caught in, should we just attack? We might not be able to defeat it, but at least it might be able to stop it. Defeat it. Clara raised her head and looked at the conductor. She hurriedly shook her head. That was impossible. She could feel it with every bone in her body. This was not a creature they could defeat. The only way to defeat him was through the rules. Help, I'm about to. Think. Overhearing her squad members' cries and pleas, Clara bit her lips. Her eyes darted all over the hall, trying to find a way to solve this predicament. And yet, regardless of how hard she tried, she couldn't find a way out. This situation. It's helpless, It was amidst her helplessness and despair that a certain voice whispered from the walkie-talkie. If you want to live, do as I say. What? It was a voice she couldn't recognize, and most importantly, it carried an extreme calmness that seemed unfitting for the situation. A chill ran down Clara's spine. Slowly, she turned. The jester. He, too, was holding onto a walkie-talkie. How? With a shaking hand, she pressed the device to her lips. Who are you? Silence. Clara's breath hitched. Across the room, the jester's expression changed. His face tensed, his features twisting into an unpleased frown. Then he spoke again. That is irrelevant. You don't have much time. Clara bit her lips, every part of her telling her to ask questions such as, why are you here? Are you human? What is your purpose? And so on, but understanding her current predicament, she knew that she didn't have the luxury to waste time. And for that reason, she had no other choice but to bring the walkie-talkie to her lips again. What do you need us to do? Another pause. The jester's face twitched again, his cheeks bulging just faintly as if suppressing something. Clara let out a nervous breath. Was her answer unsatisfactory? Was he going to leave? What? And then the reply came. Insult the conductor. What? But it wasn't the answer she expected. Insult the conductor. Clara's head flicked towards the conductor, and her expression wavered. What sort of joke was this? A trick. Was the jester toying with them before their inevitable deaths? See, Captain. I can't hold on much longer. Don't listen, it might be a trap. Her squad's strained voices wavered through the static. Some pleaded, others warned, but all of them waited for her. The jester's voice came again, sharper this time. Are you going to do it or not? Clara's fingers tightened around the walkie-talkie. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. The choice felt impossible, but in truth, there was no choice at all. Do it. Captain, do it. The words barely left her lips before she turned to the conductor and forced out the first thing that came to mind. This is boring. Even if this is a trap, what other choice do I have? Since we might all die, we may at least try this. Her words triggered a ripple. One by one, the squad followed suit, their voices shaky but growing in confidence. Insults, boos, mocking laughter. Some sounded hollow, others desperate, but they all spoke. I've heard better. Can we make this stop? How disgusting. I want to kill myself with how bad this eye. Crack. A crackling, sickening sound suddenly filled the hall. The conductor had stopped. And so did the music. He stood in silence. The faint, rough yet strained breath of all those present echoed across the entire theater. That was when it happened. Swoosh. The faceless audience turned in unison, blank eyes fixed on them. Clara's body went stiff, every muscle locking in place as a sickening, wet rip echoed through the theater. It came from the conductor. With a sharp, violent jerk of its head, the stitches sealing the conductor's mouth snapped. Its lips tore apart, the flesh splitting with a sickening rip. Jagged edges of shredded skin hung loosely as its mouth gaped open. Then, a hoarse, crackling voice slithered from its throat, echoing through the theater. What did you say? Its gaze locked firmly towards the expressionless jester. Chapter 6, The Jester 5. 000. The time ended, and the earbuds stopped working. But it no longer mattered. The music had stopped, replaced by an unsettling, suffocating silence. Cha. My chest trembled as I drew in a shaky breath. By now, my stomach had flipped, twisted, and contorted in every possible way. Yet, as I locked eyes with the conductor, an unbearable weight pressed against my gut, as if something inside me wanted to crawl out. Zar, repeat that. His voice was low, grave, like something clawing its way up from the depths of hell. I swallowed silently, trying to pull down the bile that had built up in my throat. Relax, remain calm. The situation was unfolding exactly as I wanted it to. I just needed to finish what I started. But what if it doesn't work? What if what I thought was the wrong answer? Could it really work? But amidst all my unnecessary thoughts, my lips slowly parted. Your music. I paused, forcing down the lump in my throat. It's garbage. Rattle. The entire hall shuddered. Chairs scraped against the floor. Curtains swayed. The balconies trembled. Instruments clattered to the ground. The rattling continued, violent, deafening, until it suddenly stopped. Gee, garbage. The conductor's head tilted at an unnatural angle, the motion slow, deliberate. A sharp crack echoed through the silence. My, music is garbage. Crack. This time the sound was louder, sharper. The conductor's head twisted further, past 90 degrees, past 180, until it dangled upside down. Yes. I nodded, forcing composure, or at least trying to. Then, a cold hand gripped my shoulder. I kept my gaze locked forward, muscles tensed, but something pulled at me. A shadow stretched across my lap, and slowly, a faceless figure emerged beside me, its hollow gaze locked onto mine with unsettling intensity. I'm about to puke. But as if things weren't bad enough. Crock-rack. The hollow face beside me tilted its head, mimicking the conductor with slow, unnatural movements. A sickening crack split the silence as its face twisted and shifted, skin stretching and tearing with a wet, grotesque sound. A mouth appeared, and a voice whispered next to my ear. Why do you say this? I'm perfect, it was perfect. My hand trembled, my back soaking in cold sweat. That voice. It's the conductor's voice. The creature leaned in closer, its breath chilling my ear. Tell me. The tempo. I chewed on my tongue, trying my best to remain calm. The rhythm, everything about it felt boring. Slowly, I turned my head to face the faceless figure directly. I knew I couldn't show any emotion. The creature, it fed itself through fear. Trash. Bang. The theater shook violently. The piano sheets scattered to the floor. Instruments crashed. My grip on the armrest tightened. Keep a grip of yourself. Keep a grip. And then, it all stopped. Silence. Suffocating to the point of being unable to breathe. Soon, my ears tingled. The conductor's voice reached my ears again. You, do it. Do it. I paused for a moment, processing the words. If you say my work is trash, you do it. I do it. I clamped a hand over my mouth, stifling an unexpected sound. Huh. A sound soon escaped my lips. What's wrong? Hadohata. That sound soon twisted into a laugh as I suddenly burst out laughing, my voice a little high as a result of all the pent-up stress releasing. For some reason, it sounded eerily much like that of a clown. Me do it. What sort of response was this? I wasn't the conductor. It wasn't my job to do their job. The response was so stupid that I found myself laughing unexpectedly. Around me, the expressions of the others shifted. The way they looked at me, it was almost the same as how they had looked at the conductor moments prior. Rattle. The hall quaked again. A chill crept up my spine. Cold, bony fingers wrapped around my neck. You laugh. The grip tightened. Air fled my lungs. In that moment, I felt it. I was one snap away from death. How dare you? The grip intensified. It was strong, and my vision started to blur. I'm going to die. I felt it with every bone in my body. And yet I wasn't panicked. I could still do it. Reaching out for the mind printer in my hand, the image of a sheet of music appeared in my mind. It was a classic piece I had been forced to learn by my piano teacher in the past, a sheet I used to loathe. Making a few adjustments to it, I pressed onto the paper. Work, this has to work. The paper trembled in my grasp. Notes appeared, one by one, like ink seeping from the void. Faster, faster, faster. If you can't show me, then why are you here? The conductor's voice coiled around my ear, tickling it and sending shivers down my entire body. I didn't bother. I continued to stare at the paper in my hand. Halfway done. Why? If so, then maybe you should die. I could hardly feel my surroundings. My mind was a hazy mess, and the world around me started to spin. My heart pounded loudly in my head. Time was ticking. Almost. I hope that next. Here. I forced the word out, shoving the sheet up. All noise ceased then, and the grip over my neck loosened. What is this? I didn't reply and looked at the figure next to me. As if understanding, it loosened its grip further, and I opened my mouth. Play this, it's a famous composition. Silence. All I felt was the chilling gaze of the conductor as it eyed the paper in my hand. I continued. Maybe the piece was boring. You say you're perfect. Show me. Play this piece. It's my favorite. Is this a challenge? Yes. Once again, the hall fell into a state of silence. The silence stretched endlessly, each second dragging on in agonizing suspense. In that moment, every bead of sweat on my forehead became painfully noticeable. And just when I couldn't resist for any longer. Okay. The hand pulled away, allowing me to fully breathe again. Before I knew it, the conductor held the sheet of paper in their hand, placing it directly on the podium. At the same time, the other members of the orchestra picked up their instruments. Their coordination was astounding, and in matters of seconds, everything was back in place. All heads similarly turned to face the front once again. Tapping its baton on the podium, the conductor raised its hand and... wham! The music started. The theater came alive, and a nice melody filled the surroundings once again. And just like before, I felt my mind slowly get pulled into the music, my thoughts squirming and my body twitching. I could see the faces of the other people change, too, realizing that something was wrong. What's wrong? Why did nothing change? I can feel the music messing with my head again. Don't tell me this was all a trap. The female voice echoed from the walkie-talkie, rushed. I chose to ignore her. But soon, the others followed. I knew it. This was a trap. Captain, what do we do? They were panicking. It made sense. Because, to them, nothing had changed. But I knew better. I watched the conductor closely. It lifted its baton for the next part when... it stopped. The music halted. The hall fell silent. The conductor scratched its face, staring at the sheet in confusion. It tried again, lowering the baton. Then paused. It hesitated. And that's when I smiled. Because there was no way it could play a tampered piece. I did it. Chapter 7, Mission Complete 1. Wham! The orchestra came to life. Music surged from every instrument, cascading through the theater in flawless harmony. The rhythm, the melody, perfection. And yet, with a single motion of the conductor's hand, it stopped. Silence. Why? The conductor's skeletal fingers clutched the music sheet, flipping through it with jerky, unnatural movements. Its head twisted, angling at odd degrees as if trying to decipher something incomprehensible. It should be like this. Another flick of its hand. Wham! The music started again. The same tune, same rhythm, same everything. And as a result, stop. Once more, silence strangled the air. Why? The conductor grabbed the music sheet. The conductor's grip tightened around the sheet, fingers twitching as its sewn eyes traced each note. It knew something was wrong. I could see it. But its obsession, its need for perfection, kept it shackled, stubbornly refusing to let go of the flaw. It needed to make it perfect. It's time to end this. I reached for the walkie-talkie. But just as my fingers brushed the button, pain. Shit, why now of all times? A sharp, piercing pain stabbed through my skull. My fingers trembled violently, my body spasming as if my own nerves had turned against me. I could hardly get any air out as I struggled to keep myself seated. I was having an episode. At the worst times. KH. A subtle groan escaped my lips as I tried to hold it in together, my chest trembling and my legs pulsing. I just took the medications too. But I knew this was probably a result of all the stress that I had just experienced. My condition, it was relapsing, but at the worst possible time, just when everything was about to be over. No. I clenched my teeth and brought the communication next to my mouth. WAM. In the background, the music continued. I pressed the button. Click. Insult it again. Let it. Tell it how easy this music was. I didn't get an immediate response back. Instead, I saw them all looking at me, watching, waiting, doubting. I swallowed back the pain and pressed the button again. What are you waiting for? And then it started. What is this crap? It's even worse than before. Isn't this quite a famous work? Why can't he play it? I'm disappointed. Is there a way to get a refund? The insults poured in, each one more venomous than the last. The conductor flinched. Its movement stiffened, but it refused to stop. Just stop. Let us out. It waved its hand. The orchestra played. The same result. Stop, just stop. Kill me already. It kept trying, again and again, trapped by its own delusion of perfection, bound to an imperfect piece. As the conductor stopped once again, the insults rained down again. It was now on the breaking point, its entire body trembling. My entire body tensed at the sight. Even though my mind wasn't as sharp as before, and I was still suffering from the aftereffects of my condition, I could tell that something was about to happen. I gripped the armrest of the chair. What's it going to do? I nervously licked my lips, waiting for the conductor to do something. Let us. Bang. A sickening crash echoed as the conductor seized a cello and smashed it against the floor. Splinters flew. The remains of the instrument lay twitching at its feet. Pin-drop silence filled the theater as all eyes fell on the conductor. Slowly, its head turned toward us. Black, hollow pits where its eyes should be, its stitches torn apart. A suffocating pressure crushed against my chest. You want to leave. Its voice cracked and split, dragging through the air like nails on bone. The temperature plummeted. My breath curled in front of me, the frost creeping over my skin. My nerves tensed, and my breathing started growing heavier. Fine. Bang, bang, bang. Thunderous cracks reverberated through the walls as the massive theater doors burst open at the far end, revealing the exit. The entire room trembled, chairs rattling, chandeliers swaying. The audience, those cursed, hollow-eyed figures, turned in unison, their empty gazes drilling into us. Get out. The conductor's scream tore through the room, almost shattering my eardrums. Feeling my head twitch, I pressed down against the armrest and forced myself up. I can stand. This was different than before. I didn't let my delight show and turned my back on the conductor. A chill ran down my back the moment I turned my back, feeling the cold and malicious gaze of the conductor. It's almost over. It's almost over. I felt all eyes on me, and swallowing slightly, I moved towards the exit. 1 step. 2. 3. Each step felt loud, drumming into my mind as I drew closer and closer to the exit. I felt the center of everyone's attention. And in the next moment, I reached the exit. Congratulations, you have cleared the scenario. A system notification flickered in my vision. The moment I stepped through, the world plunged into darkness. The suffocating tension unraveled all at once, and my knees nearly buckled. Hey, I bent forward, hands on my knees, sweat dripping down my face. I survived. Somehow I survived. You were able to exploit the conductor's weakness to perfection in order to clear the scenario. You have passed with flying colors. Rewards are waiting for you. Stop. I waved my hand, trying to dismiss the notification in front of me. I don't want to hear it. You told me that this was a trial, right? I passed it, so let me go. A new notification flashed, but it was just blank. In its own way, it felt eerie. Are you sure? A new one appeared shortly after. Are you sure you want to quit? Yes, I'm sure. Why would I want to subject myself to this torture again? Just let me go back to my old, mundane life. What if there were a way to solve your disease? Would you continue? It was my turn to be silent. What did you just say? You can cure your disease. I held my breath. It can cure my disease. The one that no doctor was able to find a cure for, and the one that they claimed would take my life in a couple of years. I licked my lips. They were strangely dry. Do you want to cure your disease? The system is capable of doing so. If not, you can always quit. Your memory of everything will be wiped out, and you will live your life like before. But do you want to live your life like before? I didn't. Death was scary, so was the pain. But at the same time, I hated to think about the scenarios I'd have to go through if I chose to accept. I either reject the offer and die painfully, or accept it and live in fear but longer. What a hard fucking choice. What do you wish to choose? I already had an answer in my mind, if I had to be honest. Both options sucked, but I chose the option that sucked the least. Just treat it like a game, a deadly game. Okay. You wish to accept the system. Yes. Ding. A chime rang in the air. Congratulations on accepting the horror developer system. To a future of awesome game creations. The world you know will now chain. Wait, what? Loading. Wait. Chapter 8, Mission Complete 2. Loading complete. With the flash of another notification, the dark world around me faded, and I found myself back in my office space. I'm back. I looked around me. Everything was as it was before I left it. For a moment, I almost thought that everything had been a dream, that what I had experienced was merely a hallucination that stemmed from my exhaustion. But that thought quickly faded with the flash of the screen before me. The changes have been made. You will now be given your rewards for completing the mission. Poof. An item appeared in my lap. This is... I looked at the item, shocked to see it was the mask from before. Wait, is this the reward? How? My words were cut short by another notification. Reward 1, blank mask. Type item. A simple mask used to hide your identity. There are many different styles you can try. Non-consumable. Reward 2, spectral glasses. Type item. A pair of glasses that will allow the wearer to see through things others can't see. Non-consumable. Reward 3, containment vessel. Type basic node. Upon activating the node, the user gains the ability to contain anomalous creatures and objects. Warning: if the anomaly's strength exceeds the node's capacity, containment will fail. This may result in severe backlash. Non-consumable. Another item appeared, a pair of black-framed glasses. This is... I turned my attention to the second reward. Spectral glasses. Allows wearer to see through things others can't see. I stared at the glasses for a few seconds before shifting my attention to the next reward. In particular, my attention fell on the description. Basic node. What in the world was that? The third reward was different from the first two. It wasn't an item like the others. I had no idea what it was or how to use it. This is so confusing. I scratched the side of my head, eyeing the mask and glasses in my hand. After a moment's hesitation, I put the glasses on. My heart raced as I settled them on my face. I felt an unsettling dread rise from within me. I'm not going to be seeing ghosts, right? No. The moment I placed the glasses on my face, my vision turned blue. Cold. The temperature plummeted in an instant. I could see my breath hanging in the air, curling in the dim light of my monitor. My fingers trembled as I stood, my body instinctively tensing. I stood and glanced around. The office was empty, rows of identical cubicles stretched out in silence, their partitions blending into the dimly lit space. The soft gray carpet cushioned my steps as I made my way toward the bathroom. I stopped at the sink, gripping the cold porcelain. I looked up at my reflection. Although the glasses masked the dark circles under my eyes, they couldn't completely hide them. I ran a hand through my hair, pushing it back. Even with my vision tinted blue, my hair remained jet black, and my eyes, normally brown, held a faint tinge of gray. I stared at my reflection a moment longer before pulling the glasses off. I look better without them. They made me look a little too nerdy. Thankfully, all they did was make the world blue. I hadn't seen anything unsettling. Yet. I breathed out again, relieved to see no more mist escaping my lips. With that, I splashed cold water on my face, then turned and made my way back to my desk. I had just arrived at my monitor when I stopped. I stopped short, my eyes locking on an unexpected pop-up on my screen. A sense of déjà vu hit me. Not again. Hesitant, I still reached for the mouse and clicked on the tab. Suddenly, the pop-up vanished, and an application began downloading onto my monitor. Within seconds, it settled onto my home screen, an icon of a Game Boy with an emoji in the center, its eyes replaced by 2 bold X's. Before I could react, the app opened automatically. Game developer, Seth Thorne. Status, first order. Black small square basic node. Containment vessel. Items. Black small square blank mask. Black small square spectral glasses. Shop, locked. Quests, unlocked available, 1. Black small square develop a game with a 1-star rating. Reward, unlocks the shop. Developed games. Gentle Whispers rating, 0.5. I stared at the screen for a moment before swallowing hard. My attention immediately went to the quest section. Reward, shop unlock. For a reward, it didn't seem like much, but taking into consideration that my current goal was to find a way to heal my condition, I understood that the key to finding the cure was probably within the shop. In that case, my first goal was clear. I need to develop a 1-star game. I paused, then groaned. I might be fucked. It had taken an entire team and a large budget to create Gentle Whispers, and it still only got a 0.5-star rating. That was a game with a decently sized budget and production. Creating a 1-star game was going to be a serious challenge. Besides that, my focus soon fell towards the status section. First order, basic node. There were quite a few terminologies that I was quite confused by. I knew that the basic node was the thing that I had unlocked through the rewards, but even now, I didn't know how to use it. Should I just ask the strange system? Would it even answer? It had been eerily quiet for the past several minutes. Before I could say anything, I heard a gentle clicking sound behind me. Click. Startled, I turned to see a disheveled figure stumble in. His white shirt was untucked, and his tie hung loosely around his neck. His brown hair was a mess, a clear sign of sleepless nights, and the heavy scent of alcohol clung to him. Ah, Seth. It was Albert, one of my colleagues on the project. "Good morning." I checked the time, surprised to see it was almost 6 a.m. How did time fly by so quickly? I glanced down at my messy clothes. There was no way I could face the section chief looking like this. Without thinking, I made a beeline for the bathroom. If I had even the smallest chance of not getting fired, I had to look at least somewhat presentable. Otherwise, the odds of me developing a 1-star game were basically non-existent. How could I create a game by myself? Yes, I just need to show that I'm still committed to the team. Where are you going? But just as I started moving, Albert's voice stopped me. Pausing, I looked at him. "I'm going to get changed. I've been staying up all night and my clothes are quite messy. I should get changed before the section chief comes." I started to head for the bathroom, but Albert gave me a strange look. "You didn't get the message." "Message?" My heart sank when I saw his expression. "Please don't tell me." "We've been laid off." Albert pulled out his phone, flipping it around to show the most recent message on the screen. "All of us. Chapter 9, The World Has Changed One." Tuesday morning. I stood in front of my cubicle, a box resting on my table, all my possessions packed inside. Just like that, I was fired. No call, no face-to-face meeting. Through text. No, not even through text. I got told by my drunk colleague. The general vibe around the office was gloomy. I wasn't the only one packing up my stuff, with several other colleagues doing the same, their heads hung low. Even though I had expected it from the beginning, the reality of actually being laid off only hit me now. And it sucked. It sucked a lot more than I previously expected. This was especially so when taking into account that I had only been given a 2-month severance pay. In that time, I needed to find a way to develop a 1-star horror game, otherwise. Who? I massaged my face and stared at the monitor in front of me. It's a good thing that the strange app can be deleted. The computer belonged to the company, so I couldn't bring it with me. Thankfully, I managed to transfer everything to my laptop and wipe the rest from the system, making sure nothing was left behind. As the final files completed their transfer, I closed the laptop with a resigned sigh and placed it in the box. Shortly after that, I turned around and left. Ding! The elevator chime rang, and I stepped inside, pressing the G button. I waited as the doors began to close. Just then, a soft, harmonious tune filled the air. Hearing the sound of it, a small smirk played on my lips. Isn't this the same song I gave to that strange conductor? But unlike the one I had given to the conductor, this one was complete. It was soft and soothing to the ears, making me involuntarily close my eyes. Was it exhaustion, or was it the weight of everything that had just happened? I felt my mind begin to sink. The darkness embraced me, and I sank deeper and deeper into the darkness. It felt cold, and yet at the same time welcoming. How nice. Ding. My eyes snapped open the moment the elevator chime rang again. Oh crap, I was about to fall asleep. I really was overworked, after all. I moved out of the elevator. Anyways, what should I do now? The first thought that crossed my mind was finding another job. My current priority was finding a way to develop a game that would meet the quest's satisfaction. There were many different studios that could provide me with the necessary tools to develop such a game, but my expression grew grim when I thought about them hearing me. Let alone the fact that I was one of the people who had worked to create that disaster class. How long would it take for them to hire me? I don't have much time. I had no savings, and the severance pay only covered 2 months' worth of income. That would hardly be enough to last me several weeks if I took into account the cost of my medicine. This is bad. I ruffled my hair as I made my way out of the lobby. Just as I found the exit in the distance, I felt a small vibration from my pocket. I picked up my phone to see a familiar name. Hello? Seth. A hesitant voice came through the phone. I heard about your recent game, Are You? Ah, so you've heard. I felt bitter. It hadn't even been a day, and the news had already spread. Yes, I got fired. I didn't lie and went straight to the point. Kyle, in some way, could be considered my brother. The two of us grew up in the same orphanage. Given my condition, it wasn't strange that my parents had abandoned me. But even though my condition wasn't as severe when I was young, it still put a heavy burden on the orphanage. The moment I came of age, they directly kicked me out. Nonetheless, the ties I had made within the orphanage were deep ones. Ah, that's, how are you holding up? I'm fine, I guess. No, I felt like shit. But it's not like I can do anything about it. The game sucked, so I can only try to make a new one. You're still going to develop games. Yes. I had no other choice. The quests made it so that I had to develop them. Then, Kyle paused as if chewing over his words. I took that time to make my way out of the lobby and reached for the door that led to the exit. Pushing it open, a wave of fresh air washed over my face as I squinted my eyes, catching a glimpse of the grim gray sky above. Then what? I brushed my hair away. The wind was quite strong. Then, what do you think about my previous offer? You made an offer. I couldn't recall. Kyle had tried to help me in the past, more times than I could count. He was the reason I could afford my medication, despite my insufficient salary. If it's about giving me more money, then. I stopped mid-sentence, my eyes falling on the sight before me. As if stripped of all air, my mouth opened and closed, but no word came out. At the same time, Kyle's voice echoed through the phone. No, I'm not talking about lending you more money. I know that you won't take it. I'm just... considering how your work is related to horror, why don't you come over to my guild to see how things work there? Kyle paused, his pitch growing higher. Of course, you won't have to do anything. Just observe and stuff. I've recently gotten promoted, and I think I have enough leeway to get you to come as an observer. He was speaking a lot. It was unfortunate that his words went from one ear to the other. With my eyes fixed ahead, I struggled to focus on what he was saying, my mind blanking out at the sight that greeted me. What in the world? Massive high-rise buildings had replaced the park that once stood here. Giant LED billboards adorned their tops, displaying people clad in black uniforms. At the bottom of the screen, a scrolling text read, Guild-severed stars managed to clear their first ranked anomalous-type gate. Only 5 members survived, but they... Turning to the next billboard, an image of several people leaving a strange portal. Their armors bruised and battered as they waved their hands, the flashes of the cameras raining down on them. Another scrolling text read, Guild Deep Abyss has managed to clear B-ranked Horde-type gate. No deaths reported. I think it might give you some inspiration. Ho. I blinked, trying to make sure I wasn't seeing things wrong. Then, thump. I dropped my stuff to the ground, pinching the bridge of my nose as I took a deep breath. The words from the system echoed in my mind. The world you know will now change. So, what do you think? Are you going to come to the guild? Fuwoke. Why? Chapter 10. The world has changed too. The bitter taste of the coffee lingered at the tip of my tongue as I sat at a nearby cafe and stared at my laptop. Anomalous entities, guilds, monsters, gates. The more I scrolled through the internet, the more nauseated I felt. Everything, and I meant everything, had changed. Whether it was the geography, history, or politics of the world, everything had changed, except for the people in several places. I should take some time at home. Hold on. That was when something suddenly hit me. I hastily grabbed my phone and inputted a street name and number. Please, please, please play. Nothing. The results gave me nothing. In other words, the apartment that I used to live in was gone, just like that. I didn't know whether to be happy or sad. On one hand, I was happy, considering that I had rent due, but on the other hand, I no longer had a place to stay. But there was even more troubling news. My stuff, it's gone. I didn't have anything of particular importance in my apartment, but what about my clothes? What the hell was I going to wear over the next few days? I swiped the page away and looked through my contacts. Kyle. After a little bit of thought, I pressed on his name. The line was silent. So I licked my lips, trying to find the right words to say. Then, about that offer you mentioned, does it come with a place to stay? Kyle's guild was called Severed Stars, apparently a well-regarded one. I didn't delve too deeply into researching them, as I spent the latter half of the day using my severance pay to buy new clothes and essentials. By the time I was done, it was late into the night. Holding onto a couple of bags, I waited on the pedestrian road. There was dead silence around me, with barely a soul in sight. The street lamps above flickered weakly, casting long, unsteady shadows as I stood alone in the middle of the road. It's kind of chilly. With the seasons changing, winter was starting to come. So, I checked my watch. It should be coming soon. I hop ah. A sudden burst of light seared my eyes as bright flashers lit up the street, followed by the rumble of an engine. A yellow cab emerged from the distance, cutting through the darkness around me. The window rolled down. Are you Seth? Hello. I tossed my bags into the trunk and slid into the backseat. Coming back from work. Oh yeah, just finished. Late shift, huh? Must be exhausting. Yes, pretty tiring. I smiled faintly at the cab driver before pretending to put my earbuds in. I didn't actually have any earbuds. I just wasn't the type to enjoy casual conversations. It tended to make me feel uncomfortable. As if getting the message, the driver turned his attention back to the front, and the car sped off into the distance. I leaned back on the seat and whipped out my phone. First thing I checked, my bank account. Balance, $7,350. At least that hadn't changed. Currency was still in dollars. Of course, there was a bigger reason for that. There's only one country in the world, or more like, one supercontinent made up of a mix of all countries. From what I had gathered in my research, the world was now governed by the Vesperine Union, a bureaucratic superstate formed from all previously existing nations. Its operations were delegated through the Bureau of Unusual Affairs, BUA, the organization responsible for managing global affairs. But that wasn't the craziest part of it all. Far from it. I pinched the screen and zoomed out on a particular image, revealing a massive floating landmass suspended in the sky. At its center stood a sprawling city, its bright lights shimmering through the gray mist that clung to its edges like a veil. Not only has the world changed, but there are strange floating islands too. Spanning enough space to house an entire city, it was considerably large. Do you mind if I put some music on? Lifting my head, I turned my attention towards the cab driver and pretended to remove my earbud. Yes. Music, do you mind? Oh, yeah, sure. Perfect. A slow, harmonious tune filled the air. Gentle, soothing. I put my earbud in and continued on with my research. The history of this world is complicated. There are mentions of natural disasters, but also rumors that the Bureau is hiding something. I merely scrolled through such information. Whatever, I'll just ask Kyle later. He's in a guild, so he should know quite a bit. My main focus right now was finding a way to develop a 1-star game. Everything else was secondary. I put my phone to sleep and shifted my attention towards the nearby window. The world outside was dark, with just faint lights flickering. To find affordable clothes, I had to venture farther from the heart of the city. As a result, the towering skyscrapers gave way to low-rise buildings and quieter streets. Sitting in the car, the world seemed somewhat detached. The music played softly in the background. My eyelids grew heavy. I hadn't slept the night before, and exhaustion finally caught up to me. The tune drifted through the air. Gentle, lulling. My eyelids closed. Darkness embraced me. And in that fadding moment, a strange thought crossed my mind. Why does the tune feel so familiar? It almost sounds like... Wham! My eyelids sprang to life as I jumped up and shifted my attention towards the driver. Shit. The driver's head was tilted, his eyes unfocused as the car slowly started to veer away from the main road. My heart shot into my throat as I hurriedly reached out for the wheel and steered the car back in place. But, screech. The tires skidded as the car swerved left, then right. I lost my balance, my shoulder slamming into the window. Ux hey hey. I shouted for the driver, but as if in a trance, his eyelids remained closed. Shit, what do I do? I frantically scanned the dashboard. Think. Then, my eyes landed on the radio. The song. The tune was still playing. A sickening realization crept up my spine. I didn't hesitate. I reached for the dial. And the exact moment I did. Wah. The driver snapped out of it, his hands jolting for the wheel. Screech. The car twisted and turned again, but after several seconds, he managed to take control of it as he quickly pressed on the brakes. The vehicle screeched to a stop. For a long second, nothing but heavy, ragged breathing filled the space. The driver turned to me, eyes wide, face pale. I'm. Keep driving. But, keep driving, just keep the music turned off. My voice was steady, but my fingers clenched against my lap, cold sweat trickling down my spine. Sinking deep into the backseat, I swallowed quietly. I just sat there in complete silence. Until I felt a small vibration coming from the laptop in my bag. Reaching out for it, I opened the lid and stared at the message that appeared. It was just one message, but it was enough to make every hair on my body stand on end. You're being haunted.